I'm Kurt Fearnley, Paralympian, and I'm coming to you from a Wabakal country.
And I'm Paralympian Ryley Batt, and I'm broadcasting from Gubby Gubby Land.
This is You Little Ripper, the place that we celebrate all things parasport, and we have so much to celebrate today, Ryley.
Oh, Kurt, we really do. I don't even know where to start. This show is going to be absolutely huge. We've got new world champions that have been crowned. We have personal bests that have been set. But I guess before we get into it all, g'day to everyone, watching from Toyota. They've tuned in today to watch us in our live recording. This is the first for us too, Kurt.
They're going to see how much we actually edit out of our episodes, right?
Edit you, not me. Probably the other way around, maybe.
We've opened up the question sections for you guys, so make sure you ask us anything. This is an opportunity to not just have a yarn with me and Ryley Batt, but we've also got the great Jaryd Clifford joining us as our interview athlete. So please ask Jaryd anything and put those questions in the questions box. Before we get on to talking to Jaryd, it's time for our You Little Ripper moment. Ryley, what did it for you this week?
Oh, Kurt, it was a hard choice this week. And I know I say that every single week we do this, but it was tough. There is so much going on in the Paralympic world at the moment. But for me, the one that took the cake, and I'm sure you would love to have said this one as well, it's close to the heart, Ahmed Kelly. Now, Ahmed Kelly is an Australian Paralympic swimmer. Ahmed Kelly has been part of the Australian program since, I think, 2011. And he has just won his first ever international gold medal at the World Championships in the 150-metre individual medley SM3. So it is just amazing to see, after, 12 years of being part of this Australian program, Ahmed Kelly has just got his first gold medal on the international stage. And look, Kurt, you know Ahmed very well. Like, his smile around, the Paralympic village is just infectious. He gives so much warmth to this community. Can you imagine the smile he was cracking after he touched that wall first?
Oh, it's one of the, the athlete's choice of athletes. I feel like Ahmed Kelly is one of those guys. One of the things that I do miss before, since I've left the team, is seeing the guys as soon as they finish or as they're going into an event. Ahmed would always have that smile. He'd come in and give you a big hug, and it's one of those gold medals I think the entire team would feel. My You Little Ripper moment. You know what's better than one gold medal, Ryley Batt?
What is?
That's three.
Three.
Look, Lena Lay at the World Championships in the para table tennis won a gold in the women's singles, a gold in the women's doubles with Yang Chan, and a gold with Denmark in the mixed doubles, Peter Rosenmeyer. Look, Lena Lay was a huge performer at the Paralympic Games for Australia in Tokyo. She had previously won gold medals for China at the Paralympic and World Championships, but she just continues to go from strength to strength. And that the para table tennis team, they have been getting some runs on the board, but more of that later. Ryley Batt, what's your best of the rest?
Before we go into the best of the rest, Kurt, I am going to back that up. Lena Lay, I played against her at table tennis in Tokyo, live on Channel 7, actually. I decided to take her on in just, in our, I guess, our section of the village. And look, I towed her up a little bit, but I beat her a little bit. But she's got some, she's doing well. So I think she needs to say thank you. All these gold medals from playing against me in the village.
Ryley Batt, I saw that footage and I'm not even sure whether you were able to get back to ball at all. Not once.
I think she went about 10% on me and I still couldn't return one of her shots. It's just the spin they put on that ball is unbelievable. The respect I have for them is just incredible, and no wonder she is absolutely claiming a swag of gold medals. But for me, the best of the rest, Kurt, I've got a soft spot for the Aussie Bells, our Aussie goal ballers. We all know that. And the Aussie Tinkerbells. So they have just won the silver medal at the Goalball Youth World Championships in São Paulo, Brazil. This is amazing because obviously we're seeing the Aussie Bells at the moment, the Goalball team, I guess the soul of the Australian community, coming through the ranks, improving, beating some top-ranked teams, and to see the Tinkerbells, I love that name, mind you. The Tinkerbells now bringing some more depth to that team with a silver medal. it's the future's looking bright for the Aussie Bells. I've also got another one though, Kurt. I've got a gold for Christopher Davis. Now, Christopher Davis is a para archer, and he's just won gold in the W1 para archery class at the World Championships. And if you want to jump on Paralympics Australia's Facebook, you will see the footage of him winning this gold medal and the pressure he was under. He was keeping it so cool. He was so cool, calm, and collected. I've got to learn something from this guy. I might have to give him a call after this podcast. But once he won that gold medal at the World Championships, he just let off that little smile, like a sense of relief. And for me, that was just an incredible moment. How about you, Kurt?
My best of the rest, pack your snacks, guys. So this is going to be a long best of the rest. If you haven't seen that video, please check it out. It's Paralympics Australia in their social channels. And also, I wanted to go back to the talk about table tennis. One of my all-time favourite bits of footage from para table tennis, from the Paralympic movement, is an Egyptian table tennis player named Ibrahim Hamadou. Now, he plays with the bat in his mouth and he smashes it. He has no arms, has the bat in his mouth, and he can turn a ball on a dime. If you have a minute, search for Egyptian para table tennis, Ibrahim Hamadou. It's one of the most extraordinary things that you will see and one of the beautiful things about the Paralympic movement. Look, for my best of the rest, I did say pack some snacks because I'm going to have to go through just some of the results over the last 2 weeks from our Australian Paralympians competing at a World Championships level. Now, we're not talking at a weekend park run result. The results below, they are from a World Championships level 12 months before a Paralympic Games. I won't go through the exact events of each of these because there are so many, but we have the Para Swimming Championships in Manchester. We have a gold for Alexa Leary, a silver in the 4x100 metre freestyle for Jack Ireland, Madeline McTurner and Ruby Storm and Ben Hance. We've got a bronze for Katja Dedekind. We've got a bronze for Jake Michelle. We've got a bronze for Paige Lionheart. We've got a silver for Tim Hodge, bronze for Emily Beecroft, silver for Katja Dedekind. We've got the gold that you spoke about for Ahmed Kelly, a silver for Cole Pearce, the Yabby Dam swimming from country Victoria, couldn't train in a pool during COVID. He put ropes down the middle of his country's mum and dad's dam, and he would do laps up and down, filled with yabbies, filled with mud, tough as nails. We've got a bronze for Alex Safi, a gold for Ben Hance, another gold for Tim Hodge, a bronze for Kira Stevens, a bronze for Jack Ireland, a silver for Jenna Jones, a gold for the great Rowan Crothers, friend of the pod, and a silver for Tom Gallagher. We also mentioned at the top of the show about the para table tennis, Lena Lay with her 2 gold medals. We also had Yang Chen in a gold with the women's singles class 10, Yang Chen and Marlene with the doubles in the mixed class. I have to say that Marlene is also, he's one of our competitors that had his, from memory, he had his arm bitten off by a bear. And when he tells the story, as a child, he says it happened and he didn't shed one single tear. I don't know. I can't test the truthfulness of that claim, but the guy is extraordinary. Another gold for Marlene and Lucas Didier from France in the men's doubles, and Marlene in the singles came in for a bronze. Look, that's just the last 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks in parasport has been massive, and it's only going to go one direction because we all know what next year is. Next year is the Paralympic Games. Next year is what it's all about. Paralympic athletes, you cycle through a 4-year program to get that one moment in front of the world at the Paralympic Games where billions of eyeballs are centred on the performance of our athletes, the 3rd biggest multi-sport event in the world, and talking about somebody who's going to be there next year, one of our all-time favourites here at You Little Ripper. The guy wears his heart on his sleeve, and often after his running events, his stomach is worn by the synthetic surface of the track. Jaryd Clifford, freshly back from the Para Athletics World Championships in Paris, where you got a silver medal. Welcome home. How are you doing, Jaryd?
What an intro. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's good to hear your voices. Yeah, no, it's good to be home. I'm doing well. My trip overseas was filled with lessons that I'm already looking forward to implementing going into next year.
Look, Jaryd, we all watched your race from home, and what we didn't know that you were running, what we found out afterwards, I should say, you were running with stress fractures in your femur. Now, that's a remarkable story. What made you make the decision to run in Paris? Most of us would just pull out and give up.
Yeah, it was a pretty difficult 2 weeks leading into the race, obviously. In June, I was probably the fittest I've ever been, PB shape. Everything had gone perfectly for the last 12 months. And I was actually walking through the airport from America, where we'd done high altitude training, to Europe. I was walking around and something just didn't quite feel, right in my leg. And, I'm still probably processing everything that happened in that time period, but I just knew something was wrong and decided to go into the staging camp a bit early. Got scans. Wasn't presenting with too much pain. I hadn't been able to run once or twice, but it wasn't excruciating. And I just got told that I had a crack in my femur midway down, and that the doctor actually told me that I shouldn't run. And so then I had to basically weigh up the risks with obviously the Paralympic Games being next year. And the risk being that if I was to run on it, there was a small chance, but a chance nonetheless, that the bone could snap, I guess. And therefore my Paralympics would probably be out the window. But yeah, obviously it's a tough decision because for para-athletes, I've only been able to race in the green and gold once in the last 4 years. And I don't take that for granted ever. And my family were over there. They hadn't been able to watch me run in the green and gold since 2019. And so I did make the decision to race. It was a very stressful one. I think I stressed out a lot of people, but I'm very grateful to say that it didn't go badly. I got over the finish line.
Mate, what goes through your head in one of those races? I did a lot of 5,000 metre events. I loved it. I loved the event. You've kind of got to eat the pain, right? Like there is nobody else that is going to deal with that discomfort. It is just you. And the only thing that you have in front of you is more pain every metre that you go. In the last couple of 100 metres, you're still in the striking distance to get the gold medal. You're fighting to get to that line. You're eating the pain. What's going through your head?
Yeah, if anyone's run a 5K, they'll know it's one of the most painful events. It's basically you against your mind, against your body for a quarter of an hour. And for me that day, the 5K is already painful, let alone running on a fractured leg. So I basically had to go a little bit crazy mode in the call room before the race, 15 minutes before, and basically had to totally commit to the idea that I was racing, forget about the pain, and kind of do all of those little mantras in your head about, no pain, no gain, pain is temporary, all that stuff. So it was pretty tough. I also didn't run. The only way I knew I'd make the start line is if I didn't train for the 2 weeks from being notified. So I was actually racing with no knowledge of if I had still maintained my fitness because I wasn't able to cross-train either. And so each lap that I was still with the leader was a bonus. And then it got pretty quick on the last lap, and it turns out if you don't run for 2 weeks, you can feel pretty uncoordinated. But yeah, it's something that I decided, once I'm on that start line, it has to be the only place in the world that I want to be. And I just have to be in the moment and see what happens.
Jaryd, we know you've got the heart. You've got more heart than Farlap. We know you'll push your body. You've got more heart than Kurt and Farlap put together, and that's a fair bit of heart right there.
No chance. No chance.
We know you'll push your body to the absolute limits, but you also need to think about yourself long term, because obviously your number one goal in the next 12 months is the Paris Paralympic Games. What does the next 12 months look like for you? How are you going to recover the best for that moment?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I'm sitting at the Victorian Institute of Sport right now, and I've just come out of a couple of hours worth of meetings planning for the next 12 months. And, I've been injured before, and I've actually descended into some pretty bad mindsets, and I've been to some pretty, dark places, or definitely not fun. And at the moment, I actually feel like I'm doing pretty well. Like I've learned a lot of lessons from my past experiences, and it's kind of good to review what didn't go to plan and try and implement new things. And so, yeah, for me, basically, I've just got to gradually build up my mileage. So normally in a week, I'll run up to 140 kilometers a week. But it took me 4 years of consistent training to get to that. So in this prep, perhaps the reality is that I won't get to that mileage, and I just have to be comfortable with that. And there's, quite a lot, I guess, work with sports psychologists that I think I probably need to do in the next 12 months just to, I guess, prepare me for such a big moment. With COVID and Tokyo, it's not very often in my career. I think I've raced in front of a big crowd once. And so even though I guess now I'm becoming a much more experienced athlete, I think I've been competing for Australia now for 9 years, almost 10 years, and I've only had that one opportunity. So for me, it's still this new experience. So I think keeping my mind in check is going to help keep my body in check, to be honest. I just have to keep reminding myself of that, doing the 1%ers, not just physical recovery, but mental as well.
Jaryd, your honesty when you answer questions, whether it be media or even just then, like you approach the each and every question with this raw kind of response, so that you there's no hiding your feelings, there's no protecting yourself, and there's a bit of bravery in that to do that. Does that come naturally?
Probably, I think so. I think actually as a kid, I remember listening to you speak, Kurt, and I think heart on the sleeve was something that you might have said or something along those lines. And I guess I really took that as maybe a value that I'd like to live by going forward and in my kind of Paralympic career, but then as it's extended, hopefully, I guess, to the rest of my life. And I don't know, I think sport is at its most powerful when it can give people, I guess, hope or inspiration or some kind of lesson. And I think one of the good things about sport, but particularly the Paralympic movement, is this idea that, you know, in society, every person is going through a battle. Everyone's going through something. And I think we can be more powerful individuals if we are honest with how we're feeling and speak about how we're feeling, because I think if someone can relate to that and I guess learn something or realize that they're not alone in that feeling, like then we've done something good. And I also just think like it's honesty, right? Like I'm not going to finish a race and pretend that I'm happy if I'm not. Because I don't think I'm then being fair to the people that are watching. And you know, I'm always grateful for every opportunity, but yeah, I don't know. I think I've probably said it well there. I think I'm not afraid to show my emotions. I think it's a good thing.
Jaryd, when you leave so much out there, you know, on that racetrack, like I know from you know, competing myself, but you leave so much more out there than I ever have. And I know how hard it is for me to recover, you know, physically and mentally afterwards, but you leave that much out there. You wear the Australian jersey with so much pride, and you're just a battler. What does it look like for you with recovery after a big event like this, physically and mentally?
Yeah, I mean, physically is quite easy to explain. Like, to be honest, I'm someone that goes pretty hard, but I'm also quite comfortable with taking time off. So after big championships, like I'm happy to take 2-3 weeks completely off and then another month of going pretty easy. So I kind of have learned throughout my career that if you want to sustain high performance, you've actually got to pick the moments to go hard. And so that's definitely been one of the biggest lessons in terms of training. In terms of mentally recovering, it's something I'm still learning from each championships. Like, to be honest, after Tokyo, I probably, you know, I went in as either the reigning world champion or a world record holder in 3 events that I did. And I came back with silver, and bronze in races where I actually executed my plan perfectly and ran to the best of my ability. So for me, coming off that, it was quite difficult because I was actually super proud of the performances that I'd given. But from an objective standpoint, I'd actually fallen short of I guess, what a lot of people, including myself, expected. And I fell short 3 times, if you think of it that way. So trying to, I guess, come to terms with that idea of being proud and disappointed at the same time I actually struggled with that. And I think I made a few decisions, life decisions afterwards, where I was almost forcing myself to move on. I was trying to just make it happen rather than actually confronting it and addressing it and processing it. And it took me probably 12 months actually of like struggling with that, not enjoying the sport that much, really turning it into a chore, to work out that I needed to probably sit down with someone and have a chat. And the AIS has a mental health referral network, and I actually referred myself to that, which is something I have spoken about in the past, but it's also something that at the time was super foreign to me. And I learned so much from that. I've learned so many lessons about, going back to why do I run? What's my purpose? I think, to be honest, unfortunately, it turned into just this I need to win a gold medal purpose, when really I actually got injured. I think it was the best thing for me, because it made me realize I run because I love it. I love the sport, and I'm a Paralympian, not just to win a gold medal, but because I love being a Paralympian. I love being part of this community. And so I went through a lot of lessons in the year after Tokyo, and I'm still going to learn so much more. I'm not perfect, not even close. But yeah, so mental recovery, like I've answered that in a long way, but I do so because I think it's so important.
Jaryd, we've got a few questions here online from guys listening along, but there's a beautiful comment that came in from Tequil. I hope I've pronounced it correctly. It's not a question, but in the time that I've known Jaryd, he's always been a kind-hearted person on and off the track. No better person to have accomplished such a feat, and no doubt there is more coming your way. We couldn't agree more here at You Little Ripper. We do have a question as well from Jamie. Jaryd, you've got world records in the 1,500 metres and the marathon. That's an amazing range. What are your future plans, and will you target world records in the 5,000 and the 10,000? Come on, mate. There's a window of opportunity there.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. No, it's funny. The marathon story, I still, honestly, the further I get away from having run that marathon world record, the more I look back at it and go, how did I do that? So, yeah, because I've got this injury at the moment, the marathon for Paris 2024 is going to be a bit iffy. I think my concentration will definitely be on the track, 1,500 metres and the 5K. We don't have a 10K at the Paralympics, so I'll have to give that a miss. But I think it'll definitely be focused on the track. Marathon down the line, I think running my 2:19, sitting down for a little while and not training for it at all means that I definitely have to go back at some point and see what I can do. But I'd love to get the 1,500 metres under 3 minutes 40 seconds. I've come close. I think I was in the shape for that in June. So it's pretty exciting. But actually this summer, I've decided coming up, I'm going to be focusing on executing race plans, executing tactics, rather than chasing the times, because I think we can get caught up in our ego chasing those records, and then we stand on the sideline of the Paralympic Games, there's no paces, and I'm almost competing in a totally different event. So I think that's another lesson I've learned over the last 2 years. But after 2024, keep your eye out. I'll be chasing some fast times.
Well, Jaryd, I saw your energy levels after the marathon in Tokyo, and you absolutely smashed that marathon. But for the listeners listening at home, Jaryd, it's the final day of the Paralympics, right? And that night we all get together, but Jaryd was bouncing off the walls with energy after just competing in a marathon. Most people would be asleep. He had the most energy. He was dancing the most out of everyone. So, mate, if you could save some of that energy for the 5,000, definitely see some records coming up.
Yeah.
But Jaryd, I've got another question here from the audience from Rob, and Rob wants to know training and diet wise, what does that look like in the lead up to a big event for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So training. For me, in a normal week, we do 3 hard sessions. So one would be on the track, one would be off the track. For me, on the treadmill, because visually it's a lot easier for me than trying to navigate other, I guess, running paths and stuff like that. We do a long run that gets up to 30 kilometers. So yeah, in a week, it's probably going to be 120 to 130 for the next 12 months. And Yeah, so like a normal session might be 5K warm up and then 6 to 8 by 1K with 60 seconds rest and then 5K cool down. And that basically stays very the same until maybe 2 weeks out and you start to taper a bit, take it easy. And then diet's a big one for us as distance runners. So it's not so much like what you should and shouldn't eat, but it's, are you eating enough? Because particularly when we go to altitude, so we will weigh ourselves each morning, but it's to make sure we're heavy enough. So to make sure we're not losing weight, because for us, losing weight is when you start to tip over, and that's when you can get injured. So it's a fine line. So we actually never think about eating like to bring it down. It's always eating. Overeating is a good thing, basically. So it's definitely something that we watch carefully.
I wish I could overeat, Kurt. Is that what a retired life's like for you?
Mate, I do remember the days where I could eat anything and still fit in my race chair. Unfortunately, those days are behind me. I think Jaden had a question in the comments, but I'm pretty sure Jaryd just answered that question, which means that it's time for us to say goodbye. We are a couple of minutes over schedule, but thanks, Jaryd Clifford, you absolute legend, one of the greatest that's ever pulled on the green and gold. It's a privilege to have you here at You Little Ripper. And thank you, audience, for listening to our little podcast. We love parasport and we want to share how amazing it is with the rest of the world, but we need your help to do that.
We certainly do, Kurt. We need you all to tell your friends about what we are doing here. And please leave us a nice little review.
Just nice reviews. It's only 5-star reviews, but I hope everyone is getting straight off to log on to wherever they get their podcasts and click 5 stars. Somebody clicked the other day. They said this is an outstanding podcast, the greatest podcast, and then clicked 1 star. That person, I'm trying to find out where they live, and I'm going to knock on and have a please explain.
Well, if they jump on the video feed right now and watching this podcast and see how polished my head is just for this podcast, they should be leaving a 5-star review.
That's a 6-star review. We'll be back with more interviews with your favourite athletes. So make sure you've followed You Little Ripper wherever you get your podcast from.
And we'd also like to say a huge thank you to Toyota for supporting this episode of You Little Ripper. Oh, what a feeling! Thanks, Toyota.
You Little Ripper! Thanks, Toyota.